let me get my windows ready so that let me get the windows ready so that we can. All right. So let me get the. So Brian, what I'm going to get open is I'm going to open a Google Doc and I'm going to open ChatGPT. Okay.
Okay.
And for those of you that are joining live, what we're doing is we're writing a chapter of a book with Brian Tracy. And Brian, there's people coming in, which is cool. This streaming's working. So this is great. And say hi if it's working. We've never used this tool before, and we thought we'd turn it on while I was teaching Brian some AI tricks. So yeah, say hi to Brian if you're coming on here. And yeah, thanks for doing that. Okay, and then I'll be sharing my screen in just a minute. And Mike Cannon says Brian looks fantastic. So you're getting compliments left and right here. And then looks like we got Gigi's face painting from Houston. Hello. Mike says, as do Lanny and Kaylee. So Kaylee, you're getting compliments as well. And wow, this is cool. There's a lot of people here. All right. So what we're doing right now is we're writing a chapter in a book with Brian Tracy. This is actually live, which is really cool. Hello from Poland, Portugal, and the UK. That's neat. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen in a minute. And then Brian and I did a little bit of work yesterday just to get everybody caught up. So we're already a little bit into this project. So I am going to create. And then Kaylee, you're going to get a book plug here because we're doing this for your book, right? So all these people that are live are seeing us work on your book, which is pretty sweet. If you're all right with that, can we say the name of the book? Is that going to cause a problem?
It's right behind me. Get paid
right?
to speak.
Anyway, all right. And this is going out live to all his socials too, Kaylee. I see people coming in from Facebook, YouTube, and it's all right here. Can you guys see this stream on the right-hand side? Kaylee and Brian?
No, we can't.
No, you don't see it on the right-hand side, all the comments?
Oh, yes, in the comments.
Yeah,
yes, I can
yeah.
see
So check out the comments
people.
because Jill Cannon just said, Brian Tracy coaching changed my life. Thank you so much. So Brian, you made a difference for that one. Good job.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Jill.
Okay, so here's what we're doing. Well, let me see if I can share my screen. This is my first time. This is our first time. And then Murat, I know Murat. Good to see you again. I actually know him. It's awesome. And then I'm going to go into present mode. I'm going to share my screen. And then this is the first time I'm sharing a screen. So let's go entire screen. And then I'm going to go share over here. All right. So if you can see my screen, so the windows I have up right now, I have ChatGPT up. I have a Google Doc up, which is some work that we did yesterday on ChatGPT. And then I have Kaylee's book that she co-wrote with Brian called Get Paid to Speak, which is awesome. And Miranda says, thank you for the invite. You're welcome. And thanks for being here, you guys, because this was impromptu. We were just having a meeting and I was like, let's try out this StreamYard software. So this is great. And then Raquel from I could get distracted in this chat. I got to stay focused. I'm like ADD. All right. So Kaylee, check this out. You sent me this manuscript. It's your whole book, right? 106 pages. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save that to my computer. So I'm going to download it and I'm going to download it in a PDF format. Okay. Because I can upload the PDF into ChatGPT. All right. And RJ says, will Brian be taking questions? That is a possibility, RJ. I'm teaching Brian right now. So after we teach Brian, if Brian's willing to answer some questions, then Brian, at the end of this, would you be willing to answer some questions?
Of course.
Brian says, of course. So RJ, we got you covered. All right.
And I want to say thank you so much for being on this. We've never done this before, but I'm very happy that you, my friends out there, are with us. And so welcome. And we'll try to make it valuable, make good use of your time.
Yeah, that's really cool. I wish I could see how many are on here, because it's like a mystery. All I see is the chat, but I don't see like how many. If you guys are on the chat, you're on different platforms, right? Some of you are on Facebook, some of you are on YouTube. If you could put us like, what is the number on the stream? That would be kind of interesting. Just if you could put the number in, what you see on your end of like on Facebook, like how many people are watching, that would be kind of interesting. Because again, it's our first time doing this, and we got 60 on YouTube. Paddock said, "Thanks, Paddock." If somebody's on a different platform, 57 on Facebook. Thanks, and all right, very cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my Chat GPT window here. I'm starting on a new thread. Okay, so this is a new channel. And then LinkedIn's 11. Okay, so LinkedIn's a little on the lame side. Twitter has 285 people. How cool. All right. So I'm starting with a new thread. So I'm going to upload this from my computer, Kaylee. So I'm basically going to take your manuscript. Okay, I'm going to grab it and I'm going to upload it. Now, I always talk my prompt. So I'm going to do this. And I'm just going to upload it without any instructions, okay? And then it's going to do its thing. I probably should have said, normally I would say, hey, I'm going to upload this right now. No need to do anything. And if I'd have done that, then it wouldn't be doing all this right now, but that's okay. So I'm going to give it some instructions. Hang on a second. I got to refresh the app on my phone. All right. All right, give me a second. It's refreshing. All right. So now I'm gonna speak the prompt into ChatGPT. Okay, I just downloaded or I uploaded the manuscript of Kaylee's book. Kaylee and Brian have co-wrote a book called Get Paid to Speak, and we are rewriting chapter 1. And we're using AI to help Brian rewrite chapter 1, because Brian's loving AI and how much of a time saver it is. So I just uploaded the manuscript. The next step I'm going to do is I'm going to upload all of our work from yesterday. We did a lot of work on AI yesterday, and I'm going to seed that work from yesterday into this chat channel. Are you ready to receive it? Question mark. So just so everybody knows, basically what I want to do is I'm using this like a walkie-talkie. Okay, when I use ChatGPT, it's like, or any AI tool for that matter, I'm talking into it. I'm using my phone like a walkie-talkie. Then I have my desktop over here, and I'm hitting refresh. Once it finishes, okay, it says yes, I'm ready to receive the work from yesterday. I hit the refresh button, and now it's ready. So there's my prompt. There's my thing. Now I'm going to grab the information out of the Google Doc from yesterday. And that's all of this. And I'm just going to grab it and copy it all. And if you look at what we did yesterday, Brian and we did 16 pages of work. Now that seems impressive, but honestly, it was like, how long did it take us to do that 16 pages of work, Brian? Not that long, right?
Oh, maybe an hour.
Yeah, it's about an hour of work. And then Aga, I hope I said your name right. 55 people, and she's from England. How cool.
Now, here's something that everybody should understand, is that if you stay with us long enough, we'll teach you how to write a book in as little as 7 days. And it's quite astonishing. You could have a book printed, ready to hand out to people in 30 days, from your idea here with us to the finished book in hardcover or softcover, ready to go. The technology is phenomenal. I'm sure everybody here has a book in them, or more than one book. And what Benny will show you how to do is to have the entire book written for you by geniuses that have access to virtually all the information in the world. All you have to do is guide them and direct them, and they'll write out the book and the chapters and the sections, and you can then download it and publish it with your name on it. So there's a value for staying with us, and we'll help you in every way possible. Go ahead, Lenny.
Yeah, and Lee, yes, the answer is this document yesterday was Brian's frog for the day. Would you say, Brian, this was your frog for the day for yesterday, was getting this chapter done?
I would say so, because everything is hard before it's easy, as Goethe said. And but afterwards, it becomes easy and automatic. And this learning how to use AI is very hard at the beginning, and average people will be discouraged and they will quit and they'll go back to what they were doing, which is the tendency of 80% of people. But the people on this call are a cut above. They're in the top 20%, and they will stick in there until they master AI skills. And then once you've mastered them, you own them for life. It's a wonderful, it's learning how to drive. Once you learn how to drive, you can drive for life without hardly even thinking about it. So go ahead, Lenny.
Yeah, and then just to kind of fill everybody in on the context of what this is, because I think we had some people that jumped on late, is basically Brian and I have been working together almost every day for the last several days and quite often recently on AI. And we got this new tool where we can stream it. And I was just like, hey, Brian, do you mind if we stream this and see what happens? So this is super spontaneous. Like you're just looking over the shoulder while Brian and I are working together, which we were going to do anyway. So this is not a, hey, we have this presentation for social media or live streaming or anything like that. This is just if you want to hang out and be over the shoulder while we're working on a chapter in Brian's book and Brian and Kaylee's book. That's what we're doing. So we're glad you're here. Feel free to ask questions if you have questions in the chat. And then share this. Like, let's see how, like, with this impromptu, I'm curious, like, how many people would actually show up to this. This is really cool. So anyway, let's get back to work. All right, Brian, you ready to get back to work?
Absolutely.
All right, so I got my screen here. So basically what I've uploaded is I've uploaded Kaylee, I've uploaded the manuscript, right? Brian, I've uploaded the work we did yesterday.
Yes.
And the next thing we want to do is we want to tie it all together, right? So, Brian, what I'd like to do, yes, it's hard because I have my earbuds in, but I need to hear you somehow. Let me think of how. Aga asks what the subject of the book is. Kaylee, if you want to answer that question in the chat, that would probably be awesome. If you're open to doing
Of course. By the way, this is so spontaneous that we have no idea. I have no idea that we're going to live stream this. Otherwise, I'll put some makeup on. But thank you.
Well,
the title of the book is called Get Paid to Speak, because we know how important speaking is for, that doesn't have to be speaker, but everyone. If we have better communication skills, that's going to elevate our career, our business, and our personal life communication. So we have this book here together. Me and Brian have this book named Get Paid to Speak, to help people to speak up and get the message to a wider audience. So that's the topic of the book, Get Paid to Speak.
Awesome. Thanks, Kaylee, for that. Okay, so Brian, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try and tie in everything we did yesterday with Kaylee's manuscript, and I'm going to give it a shot. And then I have you in my ears, right, Brian? So you're right here. So if there's things that you want me to add to this prompt, please do so. So I'm going to start it kind of like we did yesterday, how like I would start it and then you would go, or we would kind of fill in for each other.
Right.
Let's do that. So I'm going to start it, but then I want more information from you if that's okay. All right. So I'm going to set the context of the prompt, and then you're going to talk into my ears, and then I'm going to talk what you're saying. We've never done this before, so let's just see if it works. Okay. So let's go. Okay. Now that you have the transcript and you have the work that we did yesterday using ChatGPT, the groundwork, what I want to do is I want you to rewrite chapter 1. The first thing I want you to do is I want you to write the introduction part, or the hook. I want the hook to be super compelling. I want somebody, when they read the hook, that they're absolutely, like, completely motivated to read the rest of the book. So you now have the whole book. You have all the work we done yesterday. Why don't you give me 10 ideas on great hooks for the first paragraph or two of this book? Does that sound pretty good, Brian? Like,
sounds excellent.
Okay.
Wonderful.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and upload that. So again, I just uploaded that. I'm going to hit refresh as soon as the prompt's done so you guys can see my screen. And then Miranda, yes, you're seeing my screen live. So you're hearing my prompts. I'm speaking into the phone, and then I'm refreshing on my computer, which you can see. So yes, Miranda, you are seeing it live. This is yeah, it can't be much more live than this. Okay, so here's hook ideas, right? So we have 10 different hook ideas, And when you're using AI, it's really great. It's a really good brainstorming tool. And so you just got to ask it for the right things. And then Kaylee, I'd love to get your feedback on these, and obviously Brian too, because this is your thing. Hook one. Imagine standing in stage in front of thousands, the spotlight casting a warm glow on your face, and the energy of the audience pulsating through the room. Your heart races, but not with fear, with excitement. This is your moment to shine, to inspire, and to change lives with your word. Welcome to the transformative power of public speaking, where every word you utter can ignite action and create lasting impact. That's pretty good. Do you like that, Kaylee?
Yeah, that's great.
Brian?
Pretty good.
All right, let's go to number two. Number two, what if I told you the key to unlocking your greatest potential lies not in what you know, but in how you share it? Public speaking is more than just a skill. It's a gateway to endless opportunities and profound influence. Imagine the thrill of captivating an audience, the satisfaction of seeing their eyes light up with understanding, and the power of your voice driving them to action. This book is your guide to mastering this art and transforming your life. Do you like that better or worse than number two? Or number one?
And the first one is a little bit better.
Okay. All right. Number three, have you ever felt the electrifying rush of speaking to an audience and seeing them hang on every word? Picture yourself delivering a speech so powerful, so moving that it shifts perspectives and sparks change. The journey to becoming a masterful speaker is within your reach, and it starts right here. Get ready to discover the secrets that will turn your voice into a catalyst for action and success.
That's good. It's very good. Each of them are really excellent in their own way.
Number four. Standing before an audience, every heartbeat echoes the potential to influence, inspire, and lead. Imagine the profound impact you can have when your message resonates deeply, compelling your listeners to take meaningful action. This book isn't just about learning to speak, it's about discovering how to wield the power of your words to create real, lasting change. All right. And then can I answer a question really quick, Brian? Because it's relevant to what we're doing in the chat. Is that all right?
Please.
Okay. So Lucas asks, I have a question for Brian. What do you think about AI as a tool to convey ideas or making speeches? Do you want to comment on that?
Well, I think it's a fabulous tool. When I wrote my first book, I developed a system for writing books, and I've now written 94 books, published them in 55 languages. And I would take hours and hours and hours, 50 to 100 hours to write a book of medium complexity. And I would go through it over and over again. And this AI enables me to write a book of equal quality, but in only a few hours. So instead of 50 or 100 hours, which is overwhelming for most people, especially if they've never written a book before, we've talked about this before. 64% of adults dream of writing a book, being a published author or authoress, and they never do it because it's so overwhelming. With AI, you can take your knowledge and skill, and by putting it into this program, it will sort it out, take all of your knowledge, organize it, and give you back a book that's about 80-90% ready to go. And you just simply step in and you polish it until you are satisfied with it, and then you can publish the book. You can have from the idea to the book, you can have a box full of books ready to hand out to your friends or your business associates within 30 days. Think of that. It's so remarkable. It's unbelievable. And the first people who get onto AI and using it to publish books, and there's many already doing it, are going to have an advantage over their competition and their co-workers and everyone else who's in the same field. So it's a great tool. It is revolutionizing the whole world, and your job and my job, just like we went from horses and buggies to automobiles, your job is to get off the horse and buggy and into the racing car and learn how to drive it.
Yep. Thanks, Brian. So Lucas, hopefully that answers your question. I knew what the answer was going to be, but I thought like that was a great question. All right, so let's go to were we on hook number 4 or hook number 5, Kaylee? Do you remember?
Love it. But Lenny, can we give ChatGPT a little bit more instructions? Maybe can we tell
Sure,
them
absolutely.
the purpose of the book? I feel like if we give ChatGPT a little bit more details, the hook will be
Yeah,
even better because
let's do it. Okay,
the
so
subtitle
as
of
you talk,
the book is
I'm gonna talk.
unlock the power of your stories and then multiply your impact, influence, and income. So I think the hook will be something around with our stories, with our existing stories. We can use our story to help a lot more people with that impact. You want to use your story to help people. So impact, influence, and not only that, you can even multiply your income and build a business around that. So that's the idea. I feel like if we give ChatGPT a little bit more background information, we can capture the essence even more
That's really
in the
good.
book.
Let me see if I can change the audio to get out of my earbuds and onto my computer so that you can say all that into ChatGPT. So give me 1 second. I'm going to change my audio settings. My speaker is going to be, let's try, um, let's try this. Okay, go ahead and say something. Let's see if this worked. Kaylee, can you say something?
Okay, testing. Can you hear? Does that
Kaylee?
work?
Oh, okay, that didn't work. Okay, that's good. That didn't work. All right, hang on. Mac Studio speakers built in. Okay, Keely, say something. See if that works.
Okay, testing. Does it work?
Oh, it's working. Okay, so what we're gonna do, and this is how Brian and I work together. Bassam, are you serious about that? Like, you never know. It's social media. Um, that's really wild. Anyway, okay, so I have my phone, and I'm going to hit the microphone button, and then Kaylee, take it away. Everything you say is going to go into the prompt. Okay. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, please change the prompt to something more specific about how you can unlock your stories to make a greater impact to the world, make more influence, and even build a successful business and career about that to multiply your income.
Okay, I did that. All right. Let's see what it came up with. All right. Hang on, it's still doing it. Okay, it redid all the ideas. All right. Okay. Okay, and it changed the hook ideas. Let me. Can I answer a question really quick? Adam says, well, let me address Adam and Mike. Mike says no writer should use ChatGPT to write the whole book. Mike, I couldn't agree more. Like with that. So if you just, and I've done it. I've written a whole book with ChatGPT just to see like what it would come out like, and I'm in agreement with that. But I think what Brian teaches and what Brian's done is he does hundreds of hours of work on a book, and a lot of times you can shortcut a lot of that work by using it as a brainstorming tool, using it to write a draft. But I agree with you that this isn't a thing where you can produce something and put it in. Now you can do that depending on what the purpose of the book is. Like if you wanted a book that you just wanted to be delivered and you just wanted to say, I got a book, and you want to impress somebody at a party, then just do the whole thing in ChatGPT. Who cares what's in it? Because you could literally have a book in your hands in about 7 days. And if that's your purpose, then yeah, do that. But if you have something to say and you have a voice and you have an opinion or a way of seeing a perspective, then of course, it's not the be all end all. So I agree with you. All right. So Kaylee, the hooks have now changed based on your input. So go ahead and read these and see what you think. The first one, um, uh, 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 uh. Imagine standing on stage, sharing your personal stories, and seeing the faces of your audience light up with understanding and inspiration. Your stories have the power to impact the world, influence others, and even build a successful business. This book will show you how to unlock the potential of your stories to multiply your income and creating a lasting legacy. Do you like that
How
better?
about if we go with, let's go with hook idea 3.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, let's go with hook idea 3. All right. So let me go there. They're saying that like people are live saying Donald Trump got shot. Is that true? Is that
Yes.
real?
It appears, Lanny, can you hear me?
Yeah.
It appears that Donald Trump has just had an assassination attempt. And several of our friends have told us that just in the last few minutes. And so I'm sure that all the news services or television are going crazy right now while we're talking.
Wow.
But everybody on this should know that someone just tried to assassinate Trump, and there'll be much more information available probably in a few minutes.
Wow. That's something. Okay. Let me go. I gotta hang on 1 second. All right. So the next thing we want to do is we have you said hook idea number 3, right, Kaylee?
Yes.
All right. Cool. Well, if you guys are wondering if this is actually live or fake live, I think we've answered that question. Unless, of course, you're watching the recording of this, in which case, So, all right. So let me throw in another prompt, Kaylee, and I'm gonna take your hook idea number 3. Okay, please use hook idea number 3, and please write the complete intro of the first chapter of this book. Make the intro about how many words do you think the intro should be, or how many? Like, what do you think, Brian, on an intro?
2 to 3 pages.
2 or 3 pages. Okay, so let's make it like
1,000 words.
Okay, so 1,000 words. Okay, please make it about 8,000 characters. Now the output of this isn't just us putting. There's seeding to this channel, this chat thread that we did yesterday. So although we're kind of doing this and it's live, what you guys that are on the stream are missing is what we did yesterday as far as seeding to get this done. Okay. So I screwed up because it actually wrote the whole chapter, and I don't want the whole chapter. So I'm going to rewrite. I'm going to have it rewrite it. So, and I'll hit refresh so you guys can see the output. So here we go. We'll hit refresh. And there was the, so what it did was it wrote basically an 8,000 character chapter. So it wrote the whole chapter, but I just wanted the intro. So I usually, when I'm writing these, what I do is I break it into 3 parts, an intro, a body, and a conclusion. But I should have told it, don't write the body and the conclusion, just write the intro. So I missed that instruction. So I'm going to give it that instruction right now. Please rewrite, period. I only want you to write the intro of chapter 1. I do not want you to write the body of chapter 1 or the conclusion. Just a super compelling intro with a great hook based on hook number 3. Please do it in the writing style of Brian Tracy. And please do it in a way that millions of people will want to read it.
For those who's watching and a little bit wondering what's happening. Actually, the book is already done called Get Paid to Speak, and we're launching it next Saturday. But we're trying to play with the AI and see if we can make it even better, or at least get some ideas.
Yeah. And then Kaylee, if you have a link to that book, there's about 868 people on here live. If you want to drop that link in, go ahead and do it. So yeah, we're rewriting the book. Okay, so it redid the intro. All right, so now I'm going to hit refresh. And it did it again, darn it. Did it do it again? Okay, let me have it do the body. We'll skip that. We'll combine it all at the end. Okay, now I want you to write the body of chapter 1. In this section of chapter 1, I want you to use the key ideas that Brian outlined in the work that we did yesterday that I uploaded from the Google Doc, period, with the 3 key ideas that Brian wanted to convey. Deliver that content in a way that is very inspiring, and feel free to add stories. All right, so we'll go ahead and roll that. And Mike Hawk said that ChatGPT got our whole cultural history as a data set. That's interesting. All right, yeah. And then Kaylee just posted, if you're interested in getting the book that we're working on right now, the link is in the Facebook chat. Okay, it did that. I'll go ahead and hit refresh. And then you can see what's interesting about this, Kaylee, is it took the work that we did yesterday, but added the inputs that you had about storytelling and personal stories and combined the two. It's quite a bit to read, so I'm not going to do that right now. I'm going to keep going. All right. Now I want you to write a conclusion to this chapter. In the conclusion of the chapter, I want you to open an NLP loop to chapter 2 and make sure the reader is absolutely inspired to want to go to the next chapter. So create an open loop that previews something from chapter 2 and for the rest of the book. I want you to take all of these elements and write it out in one chapter: introduction, body, and conclusion, all in one output, and make it 24,500 characters. So now we're going to put it all together. And then after we're done with this, which is very close to, we're almost there, we will then go into Q&A. All right, and then Alejandro said, Brian Tracy changed my life. Thanks for everything. That was really nice. Okay, and it wrote the whole thing. Great. And it did the whole thing. So let me hit the refresh on the output. And all right, there we go. So let's go to the beginning of the chapter, and here you go. So Brian, you want to read that first intro, Brian and Kaylee, and tell me what you think?
I can't read it. It's too small for me.
Oh, okay. Let me plus it. How's that? Is that better?
Oh, it's still like about a four size font. It's really small, tiny. It would have to be at least twice as large, and then I'd be pleased to read
All right.
it.
All right. Let's see. Let me put it. You know what I'll do, Brian, is I'll put it in a Google Doc for you. I'll copy it into a Google Doc for you.
Okay.
And then I'll just share that with you. So hold on 1 second. Let me go ahead and stop the share of the screen. And then I am going to, hang on a second.
And I want to thank everybody for your wonderful comments and observations and questions. And please forgive me if we cannot answer all the questions, but I really appreciate your input. And I'm so impressed by all of you. Thank you so much for being with us.
All right. And then we got chapter 1. Okay, so yeah, let's open it up to questions. If anybody has questions, go ahead and throw them in the chat, and we'll go into Q&A mode. And then, Brian, I'm going to share this with both you and Kaylee, so you can go through it and play with it. Now, keep in mind, Kaylee, both you and Brian can take all of this and just throw it into a new thing and massage it and work with it. So you're not stuck with this, but this just is like giving you more and more and more and more. And the process of doing this too is I don't see it as like a one and done. Is like what you did, Kaylee. It was a perfect example of how you can take something and make it better. It's like Kaylee wasn't happy with what she was getting. So she was like, hey, you missed something. I want to add this. And then it took that into consideration. So it's learning, basically. So I'm sharing that with both of you right now in the email. And if I can, and you'll have it. So you can check it out. And then let me send that to you. All right. And I'm checking the Daniela says, can we use this tool for academia papers? I would say not. Like, I would use it for research for sure. But again, the problem, Brian, is it okay if I answer this one?
Of course.
The problem with that is, so like I've been a copywriter now for over 20 some years, right? I've been selling stuff on the internet for a long time. And hang on a second. Anyway, I've been doing this a long time. And the key is like, you have to know good output in order to leverage this tool. So if you're in a learning environment and you're there to learn and you're there to get feedback, then I think you want to get feedback on what's coming from within inside of you, not what you've created on ChatGPT, if that makes sense. Like, the reason I can write great copy on using AI tools is because I know how to write great copy. So now, it doesn't mean that you can't use the AI to learn how to write great copy or whatever it is you want to learn how to do. But I would be careful if I'm in a learning environment of just like taking something, creating it, and then throwing it up and then getting feedback on something that wasn't even yours. Because if you're in a learning environment, the goal is to learn and the goal is to get better, right? And become valuable. So the question I would ask yourself, like, who cares about the grade? Who cares about any of that? It's like, what is what are you learning and how are you growing? And if the process of learning is to grow, then I don't think you're growing by just putting in a prompt and getting some output and then giving it to a teacher who grades something that didn't actually come from you. Brian, what do you think about that? Like,
it's a very dicey area. The most important thing that you have in life is your reputation. That's part of my most recent book. Your reputation is what people say about you and think about you and talk to others about you, the words that they use. And your reputation for integrity is very important. is well, I believe in what I call an open kimono way of living. Is I always tell the truth, and I always make everything I'm doing perfectly clear. So if I write a book, I'll write it from beginning to end. I've never written a book with AI, but what I'll do is I'll write from my own knowledge, experience, research, background, years of work, and so on. The advantage I have is all that is in the cloud. So if I want to write a new book, AI has the ability to reach into the cloud and take everything I've ever written or recorded and incorporate it into a new book, a new synthesis, if you like. But if you don't have that, then at the beginning you're going to have to do a little bit more work. But as time passes, it'll become easier and easier. You'll be able to tell AI what you want based on your own knowledge and experience. And AI can feed it back to you in maybe a better way than you could write it yourself personally from your own knowledge. So it's a wonderful world, but it's very turbulent right now. And your job is just to get on board and start to use it and use it in small ways and then larger ways and larger ways. Um, it's interesting. I've studied economics for 50 years, and one of the things we learned is that every advance in technology frees up people from doing hard work to doing more valuable work and better work. So at one time, 90% of people worked on the farm to feed the 10% that lived in the cities. Today, less than 10% work on the farm and feed the entire world. All those people who used to work at laboring jobs are now freed up to do jobs that are more interesting, that pay more, that contribute more value, that offer more opportunities for themselves and their families. And that's what AI is going to do. AI is going to free up an enormous amount of brain power, your brain power, so you're going to be able to do much more at a higher level, more interesting, more engrossing, at a higher pay than ever before if AI is something that can work in your particular profession or job. But we don't know where it's going. The thing is, we know we've just got to get on board. We have to learn how to use this first at a small level and then at a larger and larger level. And the world market will determine your success or failure in whatever direction that you go. But the thing is, all successful people constantly reinvent themselves with new technology and new ideas and new products and new services and new markets. And your job and my job is to do the same thing. It's really nice to coast. But the problem with coasting is that you can only do it in one direction. Okay.
That's great. Thanks, Brian. And then now we have a question from, oh gosh, I'll say Mr. Brar, and it's on LinkedIn. It says, question for Brian, but Kaylee, I'd love to get your feedback on this too. I conduct evening training sessions for doctors on specific pharmaceutical products. How can I better engage my audience given that they are often tired at this time? And I can't help but to think of that Netflix special called Painkillers. Hopefully you're not doing that where you're like, got some heroin that you're dealing. I'm kidding. I'm sure that isn't you. But Brian and Kaylee, what do you think? He's doing his presentations at night. They're tired. What should he do?
Well, the most important thing you can do is to listen to your heart. And there's a beginning and a middle and an end to each phase of your life. And when you begin, it's new, it's challenging, it's exciting, it's demanding, and then you memorize it and you become competent, and then it starts to become boring because you've done it so many times. So successful people, entrepreneurs, are always reinventing themselves. It's interesting. I've done a detailed study on self-made millionaires and billionaires and looked at the research on them, and they all have one quality, is they keep reinventing themselves. They become serial entrepreneurs as they will enter into a line of business, line of thought, and then they'll master it, and then they'll go on to the next one, even before they finish with the first one, and then to the next one. They're constantly moving ahead, and never becoming complacent. So if you have become bored, a friend of mine used to say that the only difference between a rut and a grave is the depth. If you've gotten into a rut where you're no longer excited and motivated about your work, like Kaylee and I, we speak to large and small audiences, and we love it. Every day, every time, every occasion is still exciting and requires preparation and planning, interaction, and so on. But if ever we reached the point where we were bored at our work, then we would move on to something else. And so that's what I would suggest to you. If you're no longer excited by what you're doing, it's God's way of telling you that it's time for you to move on to your next challenge. And here's my observation: you know what it is. There's a subject that has interested you, you'd like to read about and learn about and talk about it. And it's a big subject, but you know what it is. It's the one that grabs you and pulls you toward it. That's where you go next. And you will be successful as long as your heart is in it, as long as you love the idea, as long as it thrills you. You get up in the morning stimulated. You're going to be a big success. Going to be a big success. That's what Kaylee, I, and Lanny have found in our own multiple careers.
Thank you, Brian. I love the answer. I think what that means is that because as a speaker or as a presenter, our energy is contagious. If we feel bored and if we don't, have that energy level, then it's very hard to get the energy across to the audience. And sometimes, even when the audience is tired, but when you have this passion, like Brian described, when you have the passion, you love it so much. And I think one thing that I learned from Brian, and I love it, is the content, right? What's how much content you give out per second. That's Brian said, I want to give out and be the best person in the world that give out most content per second. And when you're giving so much with so much passion and the great delivery, then the audience will feel you and they will love to hear from you because they're learning something from you all the time and feeling your energy, and they feel energized because of you. And of course, with Lenny, with the AI, with the technology nowadays, even with the virtual environment, we can do a lot of little things that make the experience even greater for the audience. Like we can press a button and play some songs or get the music going, or having some different animations happening to make it more interesting for the audience. But number one important thing, like Brian described, is the passion. That we have the passion, we have the energy, and we pass the contagious energy to our audience so that they feel excited about what we got to share.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so Musafer, I hope I said your name right, asked, what's a good way to be self-motivated? So, Brian, what's the key to self-motivation?
Well, I have just written the third edition of my book, Goals, and we've now sold 1 million copies in 39 languages. So it's the best selling book on goals in history. And goals are the key to being self-motivated, is that if you have clear written goals and you're working on your most important goals today, you're going to wake up full of energy. You're going to be stimulated the entire day. You're going to enjoy the process as well as the result. But without goals, little can happen. I am approached all the time by people who say, either online or in person, "You changed my life. You made me rich. You changed my life. You made me rich." And I say, "Well, what was it about my materials?" And they beam and they say, "It was the goals." I didn't realize how important goals were to a successful life. A person with clear written goals and plans that works on them every day will eventually accomplish 10 times as much as a person without goals. Harvard did a detailed study on that some years ago, and they found that the 3% of graduates of Harvard who had clear written goals when they graduated, 10 years later, were earning 10 times as much as people who did not have written goals or had no goals at all. And that's been my experience as well. The turning point in your life is when you make a clear decision and write it down and make a plan to achieve it. And it's a very simple thing, but when you write it down, you actually program it into your subconscious and superconscious minds. And then those mental powers, 24 hours a day, to bring the goal into your life. So if I could only tell you one thing for our time together, write it down, write it down, write it down. And you'll be astonished at what will happen and how fast it will happen.
I love it. This is the first thing I learned from Brian is writing down the goals. Not just one, actually. Brian gave me a task to write down 101 goals. It took me like 2 days to get it done. But once I got it, my vision is so clear. It's pulling me to the goals, that to the things, to the achievement that I want to achieve. Does that make sense? So instead of thinking how can I get motivation so that I can push myself to do the task that I need to do, now I've got a very clear vision that I go, if I can achieve that, that will be amazing. And I love to get there. And I just got pulled to the dream life that I'm going to have.
Yes. And it costs nothing except self-discipline and a spiral notebook and write down your goals. Just write them down. And the interesting thing is I've been teaching this for 40, 50 years. I practice it myself. I've never had a person come to me or write to me and say it didn't work. What they say is it worked far faster than they ever dreamed possible. When they wrote down their goals, their income went up 3, 4, 5, 10 times. Their life changed. Their businesses expanded. It's just amazing what happens. And all it requires is a piece of paper and a pen and you. If you just, all that it requires. And you know something? 80% of people will not write down goals. If you beat them with a stick, they won't do it. And they worry and they complain about their problems in life when the solution is right there.
Why don't we put in the chat, everyone? Put down what's your goal? What would you like to
Oh,
achieve in life? If there's a magic wand that you can achieve anything, because that's what Brian taught me, that anything you write down, you can get that. How amazing is that? It costs you nothing, just a pen and paper. But for now, it's like typing in the keyboard. What would you like to achieve if you could achieve anything in life?
Kaylee, that's amazing. That is such a great idea. 'Cause here's the deal: we have 1,140 people on live right now. How cool would it be? How it'd be like the energy would elevate if we had 1,000 goals in the chat right now. So go ahead and what's the big goal that you're working on? What's the big thing? What's the thing that gives you goosebumps when you think about it? I love that. Thanks, Kaylee, for that. That's such a good suggestion.
And what's even cooler is that in 6 months' time, we can all revisit this video and then see what you type and go, "Ooh, I didn't know how to do it, but now I've achieved that." I think that will be even more interesting.
Great. And then Mr. Brar, who asked the question earlier, said, my goal is to serve more people, as many as I can. And then Benoit has a question. He says, Brian, you are my hero. Can you elaborate on the law of cause and effect? And he said, P.S. I will be writing down my goals going forward. So
well, this is the greatest of all success principles. My friend Earl Nightingale used to call it the strangest secret. And the strangest secret is that you become what you think about most of the time. And the reason why goals are so important is that once you write them down, you start to think about them all the time. And by thinking about them, you start to see opportunities to move closer to achieving them. You start to attract people and circumstances and ideas into your life. I've met countless people who had this idea, I want to earn a lot of money. And then they said, well, how could I do it? Well, I'd have to have my own business, which is where most successful financial people come from. And so they attracted into their life an opportunity that they could do in their part-time, and they were successful at it, and it grew and it expanded. And sometimes they have operations in several states and hundreds of employees. But it all started from the idea, I want to earn a lot of money in the years ahead. And then you pick a number, and pick a number that's reasonable, because if you pick too big a number, it'll actually discourage you rather than encouraging you. So you pick a number that's reasonable, and later you can go back and revisit it and make the number bigger. Pick a number, and then every day you repeat that number. Every day you think about it. And the only question you ask is how? How do I do this? How can I contribute so much value and keep a little bit of it so that I achieve my goal? I used to ask my audiences, general business audiences, I say, how many people here work on straight commission? How many people here work on straight commission? And maybe 10 or 15% of people in the audience would raise their hands. And I said, I obviously didn't ask that question correctly because nobody understood it. Let me ask the question again. How many people here are rewarded on the basis of the value of their contribution to other people, to their company? How many people receive a percentage of the value that they create? And every hand in the room goes up. Of course. We all work on commission. So how do you earn more money? Is you create and contribute more value. And that is why AI is such a valuable thing. It is an essential, if you want to be one of the most valuable people in your world, is that you have to be current with the most important skills. You couldn't imagine a person today who couldn't use a computer. You couldn't imagine a person who couldn't use a keyboard. You couldn't imagine a person who couldn't use an iPhone. So tomorrow, you couldn't imagine a person who doesn't know artificial intelligence. The world is moving fast, and you've got to get on it and stay with it. And by so doing, you'll be able to achieve all your material goals, and especially your goals for the most important people in your life. And that's virtually guaranteed. And so you have total control of your future just by writing down what you want and then saying how. What are all the things I could do starting today to become more valuable, to contribute more value to more people? And the ideas will come to you from all directions. And there will be no limit except for the limits you place on your own imagination. So, did you want to say anything, Kaylee?
I just love that you always want to give and create and contribute more value. And that's why we have this session here, is to learn the AI, even though, I don't know. I just love it. So it's all about creating more value. So thank you, Brian.
All right, and then Brian, looks like you have a fourth grader who's a new fan of yours. So you're getting to the younger generation. It's actually Mr. Brar's son. His name is, gosh, I'm going to say Akim. I'm probably saying that wrong, and I apologize. Aikiam, fourth grade. And I got to be honest with you, Akim. If you're in the San Diego area and you can help Brian with the computer, help. Sorry, Brian. I don't mean to out you. Anyway, that's an inside joke. Let's see. Let's get into another question. Let's see. Go ahead and put questions in the chat, by the way.
It's funny is that how Brian, I know Brian's not very tech savvy, but something I respect Brian a lot is how much he wants to continuously learning. That we want to learn AI, we want to learn different things. And Brian told me how many books he's read and how often he learn and grow, because that's the number one element to be successful. One of the most important thing is to continue to learn, right? Is that Brian?
Yes.
Continue learning.
There's a comment in the chat where someone says, I don't work on commission. Well, it's an interesting thing. They asked a company president, do you have profit sharing in your business? He said, yes, we have profit sharing on the 1st and 15th of every month. It's called your salary. That's your share of the profits. And so everybody, Agnes, everybody works on commission. Everybody works, they get a piece of the value that they create. And there's no limit to how much value you could create. Once you begin to think about it, you'll see opportunities everywhere. There's never been a time in human history where more people are becoming wealthier, creating value in more different ways than today, except for tomorrow and the next day. This is what I call the golden age of mankind. Just in health ways, the number of articles on how you can live to be 100 or 110, 120 are overwhelming us. In fact, if you were to use that in AI and say, I want to live to be 110 years old, what should I do starting today? and just punch it in. You will just be astonished because that AI will then reach into the cloud with all these articles and seminars and medical school teachings and so on. And they just pull it down and go, and they'll tell you right from that minute the things that you need to do more of and less of and start doing and stop doing and so on if you want to live longer. And that's all available. People say, is that plagiarizing? No. There's a rule that says plagiarizing is when you take it from a single person. Take the information from a single person. But research is when you take it from many different sources. And so what you are when you use AI to answer a previous question is you're not plagiarizing, you are simply researching. You're reaching into the crowd, and AI has the ability to access virtually all the information stored in the world. And what you can do is just by reaching up, it will dump it, following your commands. That's why Lanny has been rephrasing his commands and rephrasing the commands, and Kaylee as well. And what you do is you'll get a different combination of research and answers from a different series of sources and so on. It's wonderful. It's wonderful because it can save you so many hours of hard work going to the libraries and doing your research. It can deliver it down to you in almost instantaneously. It's a wonderful time to be alive because it enables you to get better and better, faster and faster, and improve the quality of your life continuously at a faster rate than anybody else. So that's one of the reasons why we're so excited about teaching it to people, because we love the idea ourselves. I mean, you love the idea of being more productive and getting more done and achieving more goals and improving the quality of your life faster. We all want to do that. And AI is a tool to do that. It's not the only tool, but it is the hottest tool out there today. Manny?
Yeah, Brian, can I give them a couple of like really interesting things that might blow them away? Because you hit on a couple of things, and then it made me think of like a couple of different prompts. So would you guys want a couple of fun prompts that you can do that for some people, like, I don't want to oversell it, but if you're in need of, like, say, better health, this could be like a life changer or a game changer. But so one of the things that I did with the new Chat GPT 4.0 is Miranda says, will there be a replay? No, Miranda, this is live. Like, we just were working together and we went live. So, I think this will be saved in the channels. But anyway, next time you go to a restaurant, okay, first of all, you got to download the Chat GPT app. So have the app on your phone. Take a picture of the menu and then give it the following command. Say, I want you to give me the 5 healthiest options on this menu based on the book, The Starch Solution by Dr. McDougall. Okay. And instantly it will take the entire menu just like that, and it'll give you the 5 healthiest options. So that's one example. So, like, forget about reading the menu. You just boom, narrow it down to the 5. And for people that eat out a lot or have to travel for business, that could be a game changer on your health. And this is another one that's just random, but it doesn't really have much value, but it kind of demonstrates the power of AI and just how crazy it is. And one of the things that I did is I stood in the backyard of I love eating healthy. I'm a heart attack survivor. I had a heart attack like 6 years ago. So, health is a big deal to me. I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about living a long life. After, staring at the demise of my life and the potential end of my life, I got motivated to live a longer one because I really enjoy being here. So anyway, I was in the backyard and I took a picture on my phone facing west. Okay. So I was facing west in the backyard, and I told ChatGPT, I am taking this picture facing west. I'm facing due west. It's 11:42 a.m. It was May 24th. I'm going to give you my latitude and longitude, which I took from Google Maps. If you go to Google Maps and you click on your house, you can get your latitude and longitude. And I said, based on this yard, I want to give you pictures of the yard, and I want you to tell me where I can grow my own food and what I can grow. So I uploaded the information and I took pictures in all directions of the yard, and it told me what to grow and where. Now, that's pretty cool, right? But then it gets better. And this is one of the things with what I love about AI is it's like you see how far down the rabbit hole you can go. Then I told it I would like to start taking pictures of my grocery receipts, my when I go to the supermarket, and I want you to tell me how much of everything I should be planting. So I started taking pictures of the receipts every time I got done at the grocery store, and it started sucking in all of that information and said, okay, based on your consumption of food, this is how much you should grow. This is where you should grow it. I mean, it's like it. I mean, isn't that crazy, Brian, that it can do that?
Astonishing.
And it knew from the shadow. It knew from the shadow, from the picture and the sun direction and the time, exactly where the shade was and where everything was in the yard. It figured all of that out and told me everything to do. And then it told me how to do it too. So yeah, it's just an amazing tool. And then let's see if we have another question. Here's one. It says, magic question that reads, what are one positive thing to do it says, what's one positive thing to do to get progress in a situation? The magic question. Is that something you do teach, Brian? I haven't heard that before.
One of the most important things that I've learned is that life is a succession of problems only broken by the occasional crisis. So I joke with my executive audiences that your true title is problem solver. From the time you arrive in the morning to the time you finish at night, you solve problems for yourself and other people. The only question is, how good are you at solving problems? And so my favorite word that I teach in strategic planning and leadership courses is the word clarity. Clarity is whenever you have a problem, the number one thing you have to do is ask, what exactly is the problem? W. Clement Stone, who became one of the wealthiest people in America, paper boy on the streets of Chicago, had this basic understanding that every problem is a gift. And so whenever they would have a problem in one of his branches all over the world, the first thing they were instructed to do is say, that's good. That's good. Now, what is there that's good about it? And look into every problem or setback or difficulty for the good. And you will always find something good. Jeff Bezos, who was the richest man in the world and who's only now third richest man, Jeff Bezos started Apple, and he had one rule, is that we don't make mistakes. We don't have failure. We only have feedback. And so every single mistake that they made, they would analyze it to say, what can we learn from this to be better in the future? And all of their great success, he's now worth about $200 billion. All of his great success came from failures and problems. The reason why millionaires and billionaires become that way is because they learn from every mistake, and it takes 4 to 7 years of hard work and mistakes to reach the point where you take off, where now you're doing more things right than wrong. Now you're making more money than you're losing, and then your whole world transforms. So when we ask this question about problems and clarity and solutions, is remember that a problem is a gift. And so one of the things I taught is the words that you use to describe your situation have an enormous impact on what you think about most of the time. And so instead of the word problem, use the word situation. Well, we have an interesting situation here. We don't have a problem, we have a situation. Problem is a negative word, situation is a neutral word. Even better, we have an interesting challenge here. Challenge is good, it's something you rise to. It's something that brings out the best. So we always say, well, we have an interesting challenge here, an unexpected challenge, an expensive challenge, but it's a challenge. And the best word of all is opportunity. We have an amazing opportunity disguised as what seems to be a problem. Our job is to look into it and to find the good that is in it. And if you look for the good, you always find something good. Take any problem you're dealing with in your life today and say, what is potentially good about this? And when you look for the good, you'll be astonished. You start to write notes. I start to work with teams of managers, and they come up with 10, 20, 30 things that are beneficial and advantageous, lessons, insights, instruction, guidance that will help the company to be more successful before they only saw it as a problem. So think about that. Remember, you control your world with your mind. You become what you think about. So think about what you want. Don't think about what you don't want.
I love this so much. So the four levels from problems to a situation to a challenge to opportunity is the same thing, but we look at it differently so that we get different results. And I
Yes.
remember our dinner before, and one thing that I love about what you said is that you never know if this is a mistake. It can be too early because a lot of the time is blessing in disguise that we're just drawing the conclusion a little too prematurely. That if we give it a little bit more time, things might change.
Yes. You are surrounded by blessings in disguise.
Yes, so don't draw the conclusion too prematurely and also reframe how we look at things from problem to situation to challenge to opportunity. So thank you, Brian. I love that.
That's very helpful. By the way, Akeem Brar, my good friend, is from Fresno. He's on the line here, and I thank you very much for watching us. I wish you a great life and a great success. You have an amazing father. When your father is bringing you to watch these things, he must be an amazing man. So thank you.
That is awesome. Yeah, and then let me read. Somebody, Penn says Brian's book Maximum Achievement got me into and through medical school. Brian, Maximum Achievement was the first one that I read, although The Psychology of Selling is what changed my life. That audio program, I had it on cassette tapes. I was listening to it on cassettes back in the day. And then let's see. Somebody asked, what's the number one thing that we should do every day that will change our life?
Well,
what do you think, Brian?
My goal, I'm going to give you something that's going to double and triple your income, absolutely guaranteed. And Kaylee knows what this is. I put together a program. Hold on a second here. It's called a spiral notebook. Cost $1.49. I used to joke that if you don't have $1.49, your mother will buy it for you because she wants you out of the house anyway. But I did an advanced coaching program for successful entrepreneurs who were earning between $100,000 and $500,000 a year. And I charged them a lot for this program. And they would say, well, how can I justify paying your fees? And I said, well, I'll give you what I call my double guarantee. My double guarantee is I will guarantee that in 12 months, you will meet with me every 90 days for 12 months, 4 times for the full day. I'll guarantee you that you will double your income and double your time off. Now, since these people's minimum income was $100,000 to be in my program, that meant that they would at least earn an extra $100,000. Some of them were earning $500,000 and they would earn an extra $500,000. My guarantee. And so you double your income, double your time off. And then I would say, now to guarantee that you will do that, I want you to take this workbook. I handed out. I said, this is going to be your new best friend. This is going to change your life forever. It's very simple. You open it up to the first page, and then you write down goals in today's date, and then you write down 10 goals that you want to accomplish in the next 12 months. These are 12-month, 1-year goals. Write down 10 goals, and then say, if I could only achieve one goal on this list, which one goal would have the greatest positive impact on my life? Put a circle around that goal. And that becomes your number one goal. And you think about that all the time. When you go to sleep at night, you think about it. When you wake up, you think about it and you work at it. Now, tomorrow morning, you turn the page without looking back at the first page and write down your 10 goals again. And write down, and the next day you do it again. You do not copy from one page to the other. You start with a blank page and you write down your goals from memory. If you'll do this for 30 days, then you'll probably do it for the rest of your life. If you do it for 30 days, you'll probably double your income in 30 days, but maybe a little bit longer. If you keep writing down your goals, within the next 12 months, your life will transform in ways that you cannot imagine. I put more than 1,000 business owners through my program over a 7-year period, and 100% of them doubled and tripled their income within 30, 60, or 90 days. I never had a request for a refund in 7 years of working with people. Does it work? Yes. Does it work with everybody? Yes. Does it work all over the world? Yes. All it requires is that you go and get a spiral notebook. So this is, at the end of a school course, you have a final exam. This is your final exam. Do you have the character and the discipline to go and get a spiral notebook and write down 10 goals and select one, and then do that every single day? Now, your number one goal will always be your number one goal. If it changes, that's a good piece of information to have. But usually it's to earn a certain amount of money. You want to double, triple, quadruple your income, earn X number of dollars. But whatever it is, write it down so it's clear, so that a 6-year-old child could tell you what your goal was and tell you how close you are to achieving it. And just do that every day for a month. It only takes about 3 weeks to develop a habit, but do it for a month, and then from then on, do it for life. This office is full of spiral notebooks that I've been filling out since I was 15 years old, and I learned this technique. Does it work? Yes, it does. Does it work for everybody? Yes. Does it work for 100% of people, no matter what the condition? Yes, it does. So if you will try it out, just give it a try. It costs $1.49 for a spiral notebook, and you will be astonished at the result. And when I speak to you, you will say to me, "You changed my life. You made me rich." You changed my life. You made me rich. And it will be a true statement.
Hey,
I
Brian,
love it. I second that it works. It works for me as well. That's not only 2 times. Brian said double your income, double your time off. It actually 10 times my income just because I write it down and write it down and write it down. The challenge is having the discipline to write it down, but after that, it works. So give it a shot.
It's
Brian,
5 minutes a day, if you can imagine, to transform your life forever.
hey Brian, can I share a quick story that's related to that happened in my life? I was flat broke. Like I remember I was so broke that I was driving a van that I traded a set of used golf clubs for. And the van leaked more oil than it used in gas. I mean, this thing was it was really bad. It was a Ford Aerostar. It was like a 1976. It was an old Ford Aerostar, this crappy thing. Didn't have seats in the back. I mean, it was bad. And I remember I snuck into a seminar. I actually didn't have the money to pay for the seminar because that was how broke I was. And I'll never forget the speaker, who ended up becoming a business partner of mine later. He had a challenge for us that was similar to what you just did. And it was very similar to that. But what he said, and it was a room full of about 500 people. It was here in Scottsdale, Arizona. And he said, there's about 500 people in this room. And he said, the sad reality is there's only going to be about 4 or 5 of you that actually do it. And I'm going to say the same thing right now. There's 1,483 people in this watching this right now. And the sad reality is that there's only going to be about 10 to 15 that are going to do it. Now, when that happened to me, he just gave you what would be, it's so simple. It is costly. I mean, it is $1.50, right, Brian? I mean, that's a little rich. He just gave you something that if you do it, it'll change your life. And the sad reality is almost every single person on here won't do it. Now, my situation, I was blessed to be at the bottom. and sometimes when we're doing good or okay, that's like the worst place to be, is comfortable. And I remember closing my eyes. I closed my eyes and I said, I'm going to be one of those five. And I made a decision that I would be one of those five. I'm not kidding. I was flat broke. 2 months later, I started selling sporting goods on the internet with a borrowed $800. Within 3 years, I was doing over $3.5 million in annual revenue in e-commerce. And since then, I've done a stupid amount of revenue. But I'm telling you, every success that I've had in business came from that one moment where I made a decision where I said, this is it. I'm drawing a line in the sand. This is what I'm going to do. He gave you an exercise. And what I would say is, if you put in the chat, how many of you are actually committed to doing this? Like, I would love to see, like, if we can get it from 15 to 30, because it's not going to be any more than 30. But the good news is like, you can choose whether you're going to be one of the 10 or 15. Like, it's up to you. Like, that's your choice. I closed my eyes and I made a decision. I said I was going to be one of those 5 or 10. Like, I'm curious, like, who's in for this? Like, I'm in for this. I'm going to do it, because the reality is I got a lot going on and I could use a little organization around my goals. So I love it. So thank you, Brian. I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah,
Fidel,
put the word yes in the chat if you're ready to do the work, because it's not the knowledge, right? It's the action on the knowledge that's going to get the results. Knowing how it works doesn't help. It's doing the work. And I saw the question from Ina in the Facebook comments as well, saying, how do I know what I want to start? Because I don't know what I want. Brian, do you want to share something about that? About how do they know what they want?
Well, you mentioned our magic wand technique, and Kaylee, and what we do is, in our seminars, we say, imagine you could wave a magic wand and you could accomplish any one goal in life. Which one goal would have the greatest positive impact on your life? So just let your mind float freely, almost like a fairy tale and a magic wand, and say, well, if I could accomplish anything, I'd accomplish this, and write it down. Write it down. Napoleon Hill used to say, catch the idea and write it down. Because once you commit it to paper, extraordinary things will happen. So what I would like our friends to do here is, first, you do that, write it down. But what I'd like you to do is write in the chat is, I promise myself I will write down a list of 10 goals that I want to accomplish in the next year. I promise myself. You see, your promises to me are of little value, but your promise to yourself is everything. If you make a promise to yourself and you break it, that's a very bad thing. Not because it hurts me, because it hurts you. But if you make a promise to yourself and you keep the promise, it has an enormous effect on your personality. It will actually make you a different person. And if you make that promise every day for 30 days, you will actually transform your personality. It's almost like taking it through a process that makes you a different person in a very positive way. So that's what you do, is just write it out. But promise me that you'll do it, and then get a spiral notebook and say, I'm going to do it for 30 days. And we write down 10 goals every day for 30 days without looking back. And then after that, you can decide whether to continue. But I think you're going to experience a miracle. You'll experience a miracle. Everybody does.
I love it. It's just 5 minutes a day for 30 days to change your life. And ideas don't come out fully formed. That's something that I've learned. That's why Brian said 30 days in a row, you keep writing. And it says you keep writing and keep doing the exercise. It will get clearer and clearer and clearer. All you need to do is just get started. And I can see lots of people commenting in the chat now, Brian, saying, I promise myself that I'm going to write it down. I promise, I promise, I promise. That's beautiful.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And then, Brian, I want to call out Sandy Lewis. Sandy Lewis said, I'm committed. And I believe Sandy Lewis, because Sandy Lewis also answered the goal question, and she wrote down a very specific goal. I loved how specific it was. She wants to start. Sandy, go ahead and write your thing again, because the chat's gone about 100 since you wrote it down. But she wants to start a beauty school, and she's committed to having, I want to say, 4 students, is what she said. So, Sandy, I want to amplify your goal out into the world to a lot of people. So it's in a lot of people's minds. So it has a higher degree of certainty that it's going to happen. But she said, I'm committed and I'm started writing my tone goals down as we speak. I have a notebook here already. So what I love about what Sandy did is she's not waiting. She's doing it right now. So great job, Sandy. I love it. Well done. And then we got some Benoit's promising to write it down. Looks like Faye's got the spiral notebook. Let's see. Michael is in. Yeah, Sandy started beauty school with 4 instructors. You go. You got this. Let's see who else is in. Ina on Facebook says, thank you, sir. I promise I will do it. Love it. Mike is in. Let's see who else we got here. Penn says, grateful to stumble on this feed. So Penn, you know what's funny about this whole feed is like Brian and I were just working together today. Like Kaylee wasn't even going to be a part of it. So thank you, Kaylee, for being here. That worked out really great. And it was just, we were going to do a working session today, but then we were like, hey, let's try this new software that streams to everybody. So thank you for being on. We did not plan this, and we're grateful that you showed up because this will inspire us to do more. If you guys want more of this, that would be great. And Sophia says she's in. She promises to write down the goals for the next 12 months, 30 days at least. Let's see. Randy, we'll get to your question next when Brian comes back. Write a book. Agnes wants to write a book. Musafer is in. Like I already said, Michael's in. All right, that's awesome. Love it. Tukun says, eat that live frog. Penn says, fabulous. Tag me in any future feeds. Penn, I got a confession to make. I don't know how to do that. I don't even get on Facebook. I just got on this thing and just started. Anyway, I'm not a fan of social media. I know I shouldn't say that, but I'm not. It's an incredible time-wasting activity. But I'm really grateful you're here wasting your time with us. Thank you. Let's see. We lost Brian for a little bit. Okay, Ella says, self-confidence and motivation. Do you have any advice where I should start or what I could do to break this cycle? Self-confidence and motivation. You know,
I think I can add. Okay, you go, Lenny.
Go ahead, Kaylee.
Because she mentioned breaking the cycle and the self-confidence and motivation. I think it comes down to 3 things, right? You have the motivation or your mindset, and then you have the action and you have the results. And when you say breaking the cycle, what I'm assuming or from what I'm hearing is that we're on a negative cycle here, that we go, I can't do this. I have those thinking that I can't do this. I'm lacking motivation. And that's the language that we talk to ourselves. And because of that, we don't take a lot of action. And then because of that, we don't get a lot of results. And these results reinforcing the mindset that maybe we're not good enough or I don't have motivation. And the other thing that we want to swap it and change it to is the positive cycle loop. So that we go, yes, I am motivated. And then you take lots of actions, you get lots of results, and that makes me even more motivated or makes you even more motivated to take even more action. And it's not easy to change the mindset. It's not easy to change the results, but the easiest way to change is the action, because this is something that up to you to change. It's 100% up to you in control. So what Brian's just shared with us is 100% guarantee way to be successful. It only takes you 5 minutes. So my suggestion did start with that. Start taking the action. Spend 5 minutes. Take a notepad. Start writing down the top 10 goals you have, and watch the magic happens.
Yeah,
and welcome
Kaylee,
back, Brian.
If I can add to that, so the other thing too is like I don't know about what you think, Brian and Kaylee, but to me, our habits determine our destiny. You know, what we do repeatedly, you know, Aristotle had a quote, it was, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit. It's like what we do, and Kaylee, you talked about action. It's like what we do creates the results. But what I've found, what's worked for me as far as creating habits go, there's 2 ways to create a habit. One is constant spaced repetition, and the other is an emotional impact. I'll give you an example of an emotional impact. I was in an accident when I was 18 years old. I was in the back of a car. We hit a semi-truck. I didn't have my seatbelt on. Smashed. We're on the I-17 in northern Arizona. Smashed into a semi-truck. I thought I was going to die. I somehow got out of the car, hopped on one leg, over the guardrail. The guardrail had to drop down about 1,000 feet. It was in the mountains. I mean, how we didn't die, I still don't know. But from that day forward, from the age of 18 till today, I'm 55 years old. I have never not put my seatbelt on in a car, not one time. That's the example of learning through emotional impact or emotional response. That can be positive and negative. If we have some sort of trauma or some sort of thing that happens to us that really sucks, that can really set us back. And a lot of those negative cycles are driven by these traumas or these things that happen to us that suck, right? So one is emotional impact or emotional response. The other is constant spaced repetition. So I remember one time I wanted to lose a lot of weight, and I was at the time I walk around right now at about 172. At the time I was about 208. Okay, so that was 35 pounds heavier than what I am today. And what I did was I knew the power of the mind. I knew habits. I understood the brain really well. Brain chemistry, neurotransmitters, dendrites, how habits work. I go, okay, I just need to do this every day. Okay, every day. And there's no such thing as 21 days to create a habit. 21 days is the minimum amount of time that a neural pathway can develop. But it takes much longer to 21 days to create a neural pathway that becomes automatic. Okay, so what I did was I did something every single day. Now, there are going to be days when you like, so for example, I remember I rode my bike from the garage to the end of the driveway, and that was literally 20 feet. I rode my bike 20 feet and back. The second day I went to the mailbox and back on my bike. The third day I went a little further. Fourth day I went a little further. Fifth day. On a day when I didn't feel like doing anything, I remember I would go to the gym on a day where I was like, I'm just not doing this today, but I need to create the habit. I need to keep the habit going. I literally would go to the gym. I would lift up 2 dumbbells. I would do 1 set of curls. I'd put them down and I'd leave. Because the great thing is the brain doesn't understand quantity. It only understands, did you do this, yes or no? So a way you can trick your brain into keeping a habit is literally on a day when you don't feel like doing it, do something related to the thing that you want to do. And if you do that every single day, it will become your habit. So if you're in a downward spiral or in a funk, the key is to do something that's positive, that it counteracts whatever the habits are. You know, if you're in a downward spiral or a funk, I promise you that if I followed you around for a week and you told me where you live, and I'm like, all right, I'm here and I'm going to follow you around for a week, I promise you I would find ways that you're wasting time. I promise. Absolutely. There's no way. It's not happening. So it's like, take some of that time, turn it into something positive, and it'll change your life. At least it did for me. So that's what I got on that. Brian, any thoughts on that?
Oh, I think it's very, very important. One of the wonderful lines I learned was that the secret to success is to develop good habits and make them your masters. And the corollary to that is that bad habits are easy to form, but hard to live with. Whereas good habits are hard to form, but easy to live with. And once you have developed a series of good habits, which is the difference between failures and successes, once you develop a series of good habits, they will operate automatically and easily. You are internally motivated to always do the good habit. And the more you do, the more it becomes entrenched in your thinking. And so soon you eat right, you exercise right, you treat people right, you work and you use your time well, you set clear goals, you finish your tasks, you're more productive. And the most important thing of all is when you do all these good things, you feel happy about yourself. You feel genuinely happy. You like yourself and respect yourself. And as a result, you like and respect all the people around you. And it's just all positive payback for developing these habits. So what you and Kaylee both said is a lifelong task, by the way. The word easy does not appear on this podcast because nothing worthwhile is easy. It's all hard, harder, and harder still. But nonetheless, it's possible. And that's the most important thing. It's possible. So all those people who said, I promised myself that I will do it, is that I will get a spiral notebook, that I'll write down my goals. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And we will do this kind of discussion again And I would love for you to come back and tell us how it worked. Because when you make it work and then tell other people, that will influence them and influence them. And you can end up having an impact on dozens, hundreds, thousands of people by simply what you do yourself. And remember, there's a saying in the West, they say it ain't bragging if you've done it. In other words, you're not bragging when you say, I began to write down goals and these are what I've achieved. That's not bragging. That's just telling the truth. And when you write down your goals, there's another little one-liner that says, writing down your goals is telling the truth in advance. Is because these goals are going to become your truth in the future. So write them down as though they're already a reality, and just you'll be astonished to see what happens. And there's no exceptions. There's no, we're still looking for exceptions, and we haven't been able to find any in 40, 50 years. So Lanny, I think we should probably wrap this up.
Yeah, let's do that. And then what I thought, Brian, you said something that kind of like brought up an idea. How does everybody that's on, what do you think about like checking and circling back next week, 7 days from now, and seeing where you're at on your spiral notebook? Would you guys want us to go live again in a week, and we'll follow up on this?
Why don't we do it in 30 days? Let's pick a time, place, date. It could be, this is a Saturday. What time did we start on this day, Lenny?
We were on, well, it depends. Like, when did we, gosh, we've been on, okay, so we've been on for an hour and a half. It's 5 o'clock. It's like 5:08 on the West Coast. I'm on Pacific time. So it was like 3:30 or so, like mid-afternoon.
Let's make it, let's do this study. And we'll talk about our experiences with artificial intelligence, and then we'll open it up to questions at, say, 3 o'clock next Saturday.
Okay.
3 p.m. Saturday, Pacific Coast time.
Got it. Okay, we'll go live. All right. Does that sound good? Now, the 10 or 15 of you, there are 20 of you that actually do the spiral notebook. I'm really looking forward to seeing you there. And the rest of you that don't do it, you can come anyway, because we'd love to see you anyway. But I would encourage you to just do it. Like, really take the challenge and see what happens, because you just never know. Yes. Kaylee, thank you for being on. Really appreciate you. And then I got to give Kaylee props. She's sick. Like, can I say that you were sick, Kaylee? Is that all right? Is that too much information?
I was this morning up until you pressed the button live, the adrenaline kicked in and go, oops, I better be on, and I'm feeling great at the moment.
Anyway, you're a trooper. And Brian, thank you so much. I really appreciate all that you do. So thanks for being here. And then both Kaylee and Brian, I sent you an email with all the Google Doc, so you have stuff to work on together.
Let's double confirm the time is 3 p.m. on what date?
If we're doing it in 7 days, that would be, hang on a second, I'm going to put it in my calendar right now. It'd be the 20th, Saturday the 20th, 3 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay. Wonderful.
All right. So, and we're not going to, like, you got to show up. So there won't be any link in here. Penn says, I have no idea how. So if you don't know how you got here, so Penn says, can you pop a link in here? No, we don't have a link. You just have to follow Brian's channel. So go ahead and subscribe or like or whatever channel you're on, because we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. So follow Brian. If you follow Brian, it will show up in his feed at that time. So the link to this will show up in his social media feed. So whichever one you're on, go ahead and if it's, whatever, I'm not the social media person. So hit the bell or whatever the thing is, the do-odd that you do to follow Brian. All right. So Penn, you got it? All you got to do is that, and you'll be invited. You just got to be on his social channel at 3 o'clock, and a link will pop up.
One last point. There's a question here from Randy. He says, how do you overcome the fear of failure? Well, as it happens, the fear of failure is the number one reason for failure in adult life. And here is the answer. Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain. So if you confront the fear and you move toward the fear and you do the thing you fear, the fear will disappear, dissipate. And just keep trying. Every time you are afraid, just take a step toward it rather than backing away from it. And once that fear of failure is gone, then all that's left is confidence in yourself and your ability to achieve any goal you can set for yourself. So that was a very good question, Randy. It's a very important point. It's the number one reason why people underachieve and fail. And the way that you get rid of it is whenever you're afraid of something, just do it. Just do it, and it will disappear. Thank you. And thank you all for being with us. We will see you next week, 3 p.m. Saturday, Pacific Standard Time, and we'll have another good talk.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Brian.
I love it.
You. And thanks to all the people that joined live. That was really awesome. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, Lanny.
Thank you. See
thank
you
you.
soon.